Hey guys, welcome to the Autism Mommy podcast. This is your girl, Stephy Kiss. A few things before we get into today's episode. I wanted to remind you guys that April is Autism Awareness Month. This past Saturday, April 2nd, was actually World Autism Awareness Day. So I hope you guys were able to wear blue in tribute and in honor of bringing light and shedding light to the autism community. It is a growing community. The kids, the parents, we all require support, understanding, and patience. So I just wanted to remind you guys that especially for the month of April, but always provide patience, support, and love towards anyone you may know who is part of the autism community and has family members in the autism community, because that's all we ask for, acceptance, understanding, love, light, all that jazz. And then also, as always, I wanted to come on here and read a review. Remember, if you are listening to the podcast, please take this time out now. It literally takes a minute, not even, to rate and review this podcast. Whether you are listening on Apple or Spotify, you can rate the podcast. I ask for 5 stars. I think it's a 5-star podcast. I hope you agree, or you wouldn't be here listening to me. But yeah, if you can go into your Apple Podcast app, rate 5 stars, and then also leave a review. At the beginning of each episode, I will read a new review from you guys. It warms my heart, you guys sharing your thoughts and just how you feel about the podcast. It just reaffirms everything that I do each and every week when it comes to Autism Mommy. So I really, truly appreciate it. So this week's review comes from USA Give. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but USA Give says, gym motivation, and rates 5 stars. I appreciate this week's episode. Heart emoji. I love this podcast. Thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate it. Anyone who knows me knows that I have struggled with my weight since I was 12 years old in my room doing sit-ups every morning before school. Yes, 12 years old. So I've struggled with my weight for the majority of my life. And it's just something that I feel like I like to talk about, because not only does it motivate me to continue going, but I also feel like it can motivate the people around me, the people who are listening to me, to know that they're not alone in that journey as well, and in that aspect of their lives. As autism moms, it's very, 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 very easy to forget about yourself and to stop caring about yourself. And I never want that for anybody. So I really appreciate it. I did get a lot of good feedback via Instagram. If you don't follow me, _Stephy Kiss, STEPHYKISS, and Autism Mommy Podcast is the Instagram page for this podcast. I got a lot of DMs, a lot of messages, and I'm glad you guys enjoyed the episode. Today's episode, we're going to talk about healthy eating and supplementation with a fellow autism mommy I found on Instagram. She goes by the name Holistic Mary on Instagram, and she is very big on implementing supplementations and healthier foods for her kids and her family. And I just wanted to have a conversation about overcoming picky eating and any tips she may have in order to help her child get into a more healthier way of eating. I hope you guys enjoy, and here's the episode. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Autism Mommy podcast. This is your girl, Steffi Kiss. This week, I am happy to be joined by another fellow autism mommy, Mary. You may know her as Holistic Mary on Instagram. Hey girl, how are you doing?
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me, Steph. I'm super honored to be on your pod.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you on here. So we're just going to get right into it. We had a little conversation prior to recording, and we were talking about how, we're just trying to stay motivated and trying to, do everything that we need to for ourselves, which is a big thing for me as an autism mom. I recently, as I mentioned in last week's episode, I have been going to the gym more frequently, and I've been trying to really show up for myself because that is hard being an autism mom. I saw this morning that you posted on Instagram that you were actually working out, so kudos to you. And you made a beautiful omelet.
Yes, girl. I got my greens in there, my colors. It was really good.
Yeah. Where do you find like these type of meal ideas or breakfast ideas?
So I consume a lot of content. Mm-hmm. I love to be on YouTube, on Instagram. So just pretty much following like-minded people and following certain pages. And yeah, even Pinterest sometimes too. Mm-hmm. I just kind of like go online and see like what other people are eating and stuff, and I create my own twist to it.
I love that. I love that. So you are a mom of a 6-year-old girl. She's on the spectrum. And how do you get her to eat different types of foods? Like, is that something that you've struggled with in the past, or is it easier for you? I know every kid is different. So what would you say your struggle is with that?
So with my daughter, Gabby, mm-hmm. she was this little baby that used to eat everything. Like, I used to make her food. She ate everything: squash, kale, chicken, like everything. Up until about the age of 2, mm-hmm. then it was like, I guess like her autism, I would say, really started manifesting, and like a lot of the behaviors and like the aversion started. So she just like completely shifted, and she didn't want to eat anything except for like a few like select things. So then that's when I had to start getting like more creative for her getting like her nutrients and things like that. So basically one way that I try to get her to eat certain things, or at least try, is by expanding my palate. Mm-hmm. I feel like the more colorful my plate looks, the more options I have. Like in the fridge, I always try to keep like fresh fruit, veggies, and even though she won't eat it, at least she's exposed to it, and she sees like mommy and daddy and, you know, people in the household are eating it. But I do find ways to kind of sneak in like little things for her. So I have my little tips and tricks for bumping up like the things that she loves, which is like her chocolate almond milk. Mm-hmm. So
okay, yeah. All right, I love that. I love that. You said that her autism had manifested around when she was like 2 years old, right? So how did you actually see that in terms of her eating, right? So she just stopped eating foods altogether, or like she just became fixated on some specific types of foods? Is that generally what had happened?
So she pretty much just stopped eating foods altogether. And I noticed that like around the age of 2, even like certain smells would bother her. So before that, we would be fine going to restaurants. She would be okay with me cooking at home. And I've noticed that like she would almost like get grossed out by certain like smells and things like that. And even like the color, like she would just like push foods away. At that point, that's when she started becoming more of a snacker, I've noticed.
Yeah.
That's when like the snack foods kind of started, and she went away from like actual real food.
Right. My son is 12, and I struggle till this day when it comes to like his eating. It's so bad. But like you said, he was eating everything when he was a baby. You know, when you're a new mom, a first mom, like you're making all the little foods. You're like, I'm not buying the jar foods. Like I'm not doing none of that. I had a little processor, and I would make his little vegetables and all of that. He ate mashed potatoes. He would eat asopao, rice. Mm-hmm. My son now literally only eats beige foods. So when you mentioned the color, if there's any color on his plate, I promise you he is not touching it. He is literally fighting me, and he will not eat. And I remember all my friends, of course, all of my friends either didn't have kids or had neurotypical kids, right? So they didn't really understand. Mm-hmm. And they would just be like, just leave the food out. He'll eat it. No, he won't. He truly will not eat it.
He'll starve.
He will starve. Mm-hmm. It'll be days. And I'm just, well, first of all, I would never let it go to days because I literally cannot do that. But if I see he goes a day without eating, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll give you chicken. Like, I'll give you French fries. Like, there's nothing else. Another thing that happens with Ethan, and I don't know if this happens with Gabby, is he goes through waves. So it'll be 2 months where all he wants to eat is chicken. He doesn't even want French fries. He doesn't want nothing else. He just wants chicken and his Lucky Charms, because that's the cereal he's on right now. Because that goes in waves too.
My daughter likes Lucky Charms.
And I'm like, why the Lucky Charms? Out of all the cereals in the world, you choose the one with the marshmallows? Like, that's a lot of sugar, and he'll go through waves, and then out of nowhere, so I'll stock up, I'll go to like BJ's, and I'll buy a whole bunch of Lucky Charms, a whole bunch of chicken, and then tomorrow, he won't eat the chicken, and he only wants bacon. And it's like, you need to, like, can we have a discussion before mommy buys all this food? Because I don't understand. It drives me insane. It literally drives me insane. But they do what they want to do, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. The amount of money that we waste as autism mommies just in food.
Trying to get them to try new things. Or like, I'll get so excited when he eats something new. So I'll go and I'll buy a bunch of it. And it's like, no, that's just what I was feeling for that day. I never want to eat that again.
Right.
It drives me crazy. All right. So we're going to get into our mommy motivation. And I want to talk about basically what we've been talking about. And that's healthy eating and supplements on the spectrum. So, as I mentioned earlier, on Instagram, you call yourself Holistic Mary. Where exactly did that come from?
So my background is I'm a certified lash tech and I'm a makeup artist, and I work currently in the dermatology field. So I have another Instagram page with like all my beauty stuff, but I was working with a personal trainer and he was making me like send him pictures of my food and stuff. And it just occurred to me, I was like, why don't I just start a page and you can just go on my page and look at what I'm eating, you know? And it kind of just led me down the rabbit hole of supplementing. And, you know, I'm currently trying to lead a healthier lifestyle, lose weight, you know, just improve myself in many different aspects. So I thought, why not incorporate that also into my child's life? So it almost started off as like a little project. I wanted to curate also, because, you know, sometimes we're on social media and it's like, we're just scrolling past like all these things. I was like, let me just curate it and make it a little bit more meaningful in my life. I'm going to be on it anyway. Let me, you know, curate it.
I love that.
So that's where Holistic Mary comes from.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. You have to use social media to benefit you at the end of the day. So if you're on it like all the time, then you want to be able to use it to help you and your family. So you mentioned before that you have little tips and tricks when it comes to like incorporating more healthy options into your daughter's diet. Can you give us a little bit of a sneak peek as to what that looks like for you?
Yeah. So my daughter loves her chocolate almond milk. She's obsessed. So I definitely give that to her every single morning. But in her chocolate almond milk, I will sneak in a liquid probiotic, which is good for her gut health. So the brand that I actually use is called Mary Ruth's Organic. I'll show you like the little. This is the focus and attention drop.
Okay.
But I use the probiotics and I put that in her milk. And in order to get some greens in too, like, because that's like her chocolate almond milk is something that I'll know she'll drink every day. Like that's something she won't eat anything else, but I know she'll drink that unless she's sick. So that's where I try to like spruce it up. So that's a good tip. Like that one meal that you know that your kid is going to eat, like without fail, like just try to, you know, get as much nutrition as possible. And then I also use this other thing called Amazing Grass, and it's like a superfood. And it has like greens in it, and it's a chocolate flavor. It's flavored with cacao. I got this one at Whole Foods, and this one I got online at Mary Ruth's Organic. And I'll just like drop it in, like without her seeing me though, because if she sees me, like she ain't drinking it. She's like, no, I don't know. I don't know what concoction you're making, but I'll just do it real quick. I'll give it to her. She doesn't even taste it. Other than that, that's like the only place I can kind of, in her diet, where I can kind of get in vitamins. If she drinks juice, sometimes it's hit or miss. She doesn't drink juice all the time. But if she drinks juice, I'll drop in vitamin C drops or some elderberry, with this whole like coronavirus and stuff, trying to keep their immune system good. And then I'll also use like these focus and attention drops as well. I feel like it helps to calm her nervous system and stuff. These were great during at home learning when we did the Zoom and stuff. Like I would put this in her in her juice. And I could see that she was a little bit calmer.
Interesting. So do they have like a taste? Are they flavorless? Like, because I feel like my son is like a hound dog. He'll sniff it out.
He'll sniff it out. Yeah. So they do have a taste. There are like a little herby. The elderberry one tastes like berries almost. This one, it's not too strong though. Like if you put it like in an apple juice or something like that, they won't be able to detect it.
My son doesn't trust me.
Well, yeah. Yeah. He's probably seen you.
He does not trust me. The only, like, if I pour him juice in a cup, he looks at it, he smells it, and he's just like, I don't know. Like,
he looks at the color. He'd be like
holding it against the light. Like, I'm just like, what? I'm not going to poison you. Like, what is your problem? He is so picky. I've never met anybody as picky as this child. It is ridiculous. Even if we're like in somebody's home and they make him chicken, he looks at it and he's like, no, I don't know. And I'm just like, sir, and we'll literally take that chicken home and he'll eat it at home.
Yeah. So my daughter's like that too. We went to a restaurant the other day and I knew she was starving and it was chicken nuggets. They looked exactly like McDonald's chicken nuggets. They look exactly. And fries. And she looked at it and she was just like, it was the environment. Yeah. Like
This is their world. We're just living in it at the end of the day.
We're just living
because they're going to do what they want to do. And they're not, it is so hard to like force your child to do something.
Of course.
And it's almost heartbreaking. Now that he's bigger, he literally will just yell at me and say no. Not yell at me like aggressively, but like literally loud and just say, no, I don't want that. Or turn his face and put his hand like in front of me or whatever. When he was little, the tantrums that would come off if I would try to like force him to eat something or if I would give him, at one point, I really thought I was going to start juicing for my son. Like, I was like, oh, well, he likes to drink juice, so I'll start making juices for him. Bought a juicer, did all this. I was like, I'll incorporate, greens into, I had a whole plan. He never drank one juice that I made. Not one. Literally sat there forever. He only really drinks water, so he doesn't drink like chocolate milk or anything, unless it's a chocolate milk from the store that he opens himself. I'm telling you, he does not trust me. He does not trust me.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm taking advantage because my daughter's still sick, but I bet you when she's 12, she's going to be like, no, Mom, I'm not drinking none of this.
Well, at least now she's used to the taste, right? So maybe if she had it regular, she'll be like, what is this? I don't want this. This is nasty, So that's good that you got her into, the whole thing early on. So you mentioned that you use the drops for like mental focus and clarity and the super greens foods. Is there any actual foods that she eats that you would recommend? Or is it like my son and it's just chicken?
Yeah, my daughter eats hot dogs, beige food. She loves bread. She calls it bun. I'm like, what do you want, bun? She loves her bun. What else? Hot dogs, bread. She likes clementine. Okay. So one fruit. She likes grapes. It really depends. Like every day is something different. And like I said, I just like to have these foods around and I'll label them for her. Like the other day I had some bananas and I was like, what's this? She's like, anana. And I was like, you want to try? And she smells it and then ran. But I was like, at least you smelled it. Right. At least you looked at it. I'm okay with that. So, it's just about like having it around and you eating them as well. And of course they're their own little people. They have their own personality. So it's not about forcing them. And what's crazy is I think our kiddos are definitely getting the nutrition they need, even if they are just eating like their, 4 or 5 foods. Like I've spoken to, pediatricians and specialists, and they're like, they're fine. Like, sometimes as parents, we worry too much. But they're okay, and they'll eat when they're well and ready.
Yeah. When it comes to like foods and drinks, there's not much of a variety for Ethan. Luckily, he will take a gummy vitamin. Thank God. So, I give him his gummy vitamins, every day. He's getting older and he's getting bigger. So like, I just feel like he definitely needs that nutrition. But as autism moms ourselves, we have to focus on our nutrition as well. So there are some supplements and some things that I like to incorporate into my daily life. And sometimes I can kind of get them into Ethan's life. And they don't necessarily need to be like ingested, right? So one of them is like a chamomile lavender spray when it comes to like relaxation and easing like anxiety. For a while, Ethan had a problem sleeping at night. He wouldn't go to sleep, or when he did, he would wake up and he would just be agitated. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it was like growing pains or things like that. So I would have this, I think it was Dr. Teal's is the brand, and it's a spray, and I would spray it on his pillow. And it was lavender infused with like chamomile and things like that. And after a while, I did notice that it did work. I did also give him melatonin. So there's also that because he wasn't sleeping at the time. I was so nervous about giving that to him. I'm like, oh my God, I'm drugging my baby.
Yeah. So many kids on the spectrum do need melatonin, and at least for a little while, or in small doses, just to help regulate them.
I was also taking it too, because I'm like, if I'm going to give it to my son and I feel like I need to sleep as well, then I'm going to take it as well. So that definitely helped me. Another thing that I am a big advocate on, I know you mentioned elderberry, but for me, what's in my house is echinacea. I have been taking echinacea for years, like since before the pandemic. Anytime I felt like any little tickle in my throat or something like that, I'm like, all right, I need echinacea in tea, and it's going to knock it right out. What echinacea does, it basically boosts your immune system. So it fights off anything that may be happening within, your body or whatever. Before COVID, I hadn't gotten a cold in like 5 years. So I love echinacea. I swear by it. It's the best thing ever invented, ever found. It's my holy grail for sure. Another thing that you can include into your diet would be garlic, because garlic has a lot of great health benefits. It has been associated with lowering cholesterol and high blood pressure. It also has antimicrobial effects, and they say it might prevent cancer too, which is pretty good nowadays, because I feel like cancer is it's almost like expected that someone in your family is going to have some sort of cancer, which is crazy. And it's all the carcinogens and our environment and the foods we eat and sun, just living in the earth, Another one that I found that I've never actually used, and I don't know if you have any experience with it, would be St. John's wort. I've heard of it, never used it. But they say you can use it to manage depression symptoms. Also, people with autism may benefit with it if they struggle with depression or any related anxiety. So that's maybe something, if you see that your kid is, or you yourself, because it's very hard to be an autism mom, if you're struggling with any like down points in your life or any anxiety, just, mom life, maybe incorporating some St. John's wort into your routine might be able to help. A little disclaimer, as with anything, if you're taking any medications or any other supplements, make sure that you check with your doctor or your pharmacist to make sure that there's no interactions or anything like that. I think that's basically it. I think it's very important for us as moms, people in general, to just make sure we take care of ourselves, because as I've mentioned time and time again, you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you're not well, there's no way your family can be well, because you are the matriarch. You are the primary person. So we're going to get into our question portion of the podcast. I found this question on Reddit, and it's titled, "Toddler pulling my hand to snacks 24/7. What do I do?" So the mother says, "My toddler began pulling my hand to stuff he wants about a month ago. His therapists were all so excited and said this is great and to encourage it as he is trying to communicate his wants and needs instead of just crying, which is awesome, except he's doing it 24/7 and it's only for gummies and graham crackers. He will take me over to every spot in the kitchen that might possibly have them over and over all day and night. And when I don't give them to him, he cries. He doesn't play or do anything else now except take me to the kitchen counter cabinet looking for gummy bears and graham crackers. I'm not really exaggerating when I say it's every 10 to 30 seconds. I can't get anything done, can't eat, can't sit down, can't even play with him because he's so fixated on it. What do I do to chill this out a bit without discouraging him communicating?"
Yeah, so I can definitely relate because my Gabby is the same way. She doesn't have she's not fully verbal, so she mostly communicates like through gestures, and pulling to snacks and preferred items is definitely what she does. I would say for that mom is definitely start incorporating like some boundaries. We use all done a lot with Gabby, and she even mimics all done. And also maybe what I do is my daughter loves ices, so I'll put 4 in the freezer and then I'll like hide the rest. And then I show her it's all done. So maybe separating the stacks, like putting gummies in little Ziploc bags and then hiding like the big pack, and then showing, you know, her child like, oh, you know, this is it. And just also just like prepping them and creating anticipation and saying like, all right, that's it. Like this is the last bag, all done after this, all done. Just so they can feel like a part of the process. Like, okay, my mom is giving into this, but I know that, you know, it's building anticipation. Like I know it's almost going to be done. So that's what I would suggest. Yeah.
I love that.
It's hard though.
I mean, it's so hard because I feel like we want our kids to communicate in whatever way they can. And when they do, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to give you whatever you want as like a reward because this is, you know, we want you to be able to communicate, which is what her therapists are saying. But also they can get fixated, right? And that's something that they're going to want to do over and over and over again. I would maybe try to incorporate snack time. So it's like, you know, at this time, after we do this, then you can have a snack, and that's what it is. And that is the, you know, participation or whatever for that, the reward for that action, as opposed to it being that that's all they want to do all day, every day. I know she says that she doesn't want to play, and, you know, it's a toddler, so it's hard, you know, to get them into like a routine and things like that. Hiding the food, 100%. I hide, even today, my son is 12. I hide food all the time because if I don't, he'll eat 17 boxes of Lucky Charms in a day. And I'm just like, we can't do this. It's not right. So yeah, I would definitely maybe hide the food, pre-portion the food for sure. The graham crackers, maybe also have for the day, pre-portion them, have them in a specific place, label them, and it can be like morning snack, afternoon snack, or whatever, so that she knows that that's what it is and that's all it's going to be. The all done gesture is very good. These type of kids, they need to anticipate what's going on. They don't like surprises, right? It's a lot of stimulation. They can get overstimulated and, you know, it can really bother them. So it can turn into a meltdown and crying and everything. If they know what's going on and if they know what to expect for the day and you have it as rigid, sometimes we have to be very rigid and very, as Genesis in my last episode or my first episode had said, she's very, you know, military-esque when it comes to her routine. And I feel like you do have to be that way sometimes with your kids because it can get hard and they need that structure. They need to know that this is what's going on so that they don't get fixated on doing the same things over and over again. It's going to be hard in the beginning. I'm not saying that the first week she's going to not cry, but, you know, I think it'll definitely work out in the long run if you can try to incorporate some strict structure into their lives. But definitely you want to encourage the communication. That's very important, because if you don't encourage the communication, then they can regress. My son had did that at one point. He was like talking a little bit more, and then he just regressed a little bit. So now, we have built up more, and he's communicating more. But remember, kids go through highs and lows, especially through growing. So not only are, their minds growing, but there's also physical changes going on every day. They're getting bigger, they're getting older. So they don't know how to process a lot of these changes. So that might be where regression comes in. So just try to be patient. I say this all the time. Patience is key when it comes to your kids. So just make sure you try to stick to it. Try to stay patient. Try to stay positive as much as you can. And just breathe. It can be hard.
Breathe.
It can be hard.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So thank you, Mary, for coming onto the podcast. I really, truly appreciate it. Is there anything that you want to promote? Any Instagram pages or your lash company or anything like that you want to promote on the podcast?
Yeah. So you guys can follow me at Holistic Mary on Instagram. And my beauty page is beautyby_Mary E. So you guys can follow me on either of those pages. The Holistic Mary one is where I mostly talk about my child and my fitness journey and just overall wellness and, just trying to stay sane and peaceful in this crazy world. So.
Okay. I love it. I will have all of your information linked down below so that my listeners can find you. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Autism Mommy Podcast, and I will see you next week. Bye.